So, this is part 2 of Airpocalypse, surviving the world's most populated city, which is New Delhi, which I did not know. But before the last video, I did not know. So this is part 2. We have about, we'll just say 23 minutes left of the video, of their documentary. And let's see what else we can learn. And I'm just curious to see if they come up with anything or what type of solutions that they have, because they didn't really talk about too many solutions in the previous video. So we'll see. Oops, there we go.
They've engaged the help of this man, lawyer Charanpal Bagri.
ਕਿਸਾਨ ਤਾਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਇੰਨੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕਰਜ਼ੇ ਦੇ ਨੀਚੇ ਹੈ, ਡੈਟ ਦੇ ਨੀਚੇ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਸੁਸਾਈਡ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਫਾਈਨ ਇੰਪੋਜ਼ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਜੇਲ੍ਹ 'ਚ ਪਾ ਦੋਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਇਕਨੋਮੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪੂਰੀ ਸਾਡੀ 70% ਡਿਪੈਂਡੈਂਟ ਅਪੌਨ ਐਗਰੀਕਲਚਰ ਹੈ, ਕਿੱਥੇ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ। ਧਰਤੀ ਨੂੰ ਮਾਰੂਥਲ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ, ਅਸੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਕੋਰਟ ਸਾਡੀ ਹੈਲਪ ਕਰੇ।
Bagri plans to present the farmers' side of the story to the Supreme Court.
ਸੁਪਰੀਮ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੈਕਸਟ ਹੀਅਰਿੰਗ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਪੱਖ ਪੂਰੀ ਮਜ਼ਬੂਤੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਪੂਰੇ ਜੋਸ਼ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਊਗਾ।
He insists that any plan the local government devises to curb crop stubble burning must include solutions to the farmer's dilemma, not just penalties.
ਉਹਦੀ ਟਰਾਂਸਪੋਰਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਕਾਸਟ ਦਿਓ, ਕਿਸਾਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਮੈਕੈਨਿਜ਼ਮ ਦਿਓ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਟਬਲ ਨਾਲ ਡੀਲ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੇ ਕਿਸਾਨ ਨੇ। ਉਹ ਵਾਲੀ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਡਿਊਟੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ, ਸਟੇਟ ਨੇ ਪਰਫਾਰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤੀ। ਫਾਈਨ ਲੈਣਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਫਾਰਮਰਸ ਤੋਂ। 70 ਲੱਖ ਰੁਪਇਆ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਲੈਕਟ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਫਾਈਨ ਦੇ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ, ਬਟ ਅੱਗ ਫੇਰ ਲੱਗ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਜਿਤਨੀ ਦੇਰ ਸਟੇਟ ਸੈਂਟਰਲ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਨਿਊ ਟੈਕਨੀਕ, ਨਵੀਂ ਸੋਲਿਊਸ਼ਨ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਾਈਡ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੀ, ਉਨੀ ਦੇਰ ਤੱਕ ਸਟਬਲ ਬਰਨਿੰਗ ਨਹੀਂ ਰੁਕੇਗੀ।
Every winter, farmers in India's Punjab burn stubble to clear their fields. These thousands of fires have disastrous consequences for Delhi, 300 kilometers away. Air quality plummets. People fall ill. But farmers don't want to stop because the planting of their winter crop, wheat, is at stake. The government claims that there is a solution. It's called the Happy Cedar, developed by the Punjab Agricultural University. Mounted on a tractor, the Happy Cedar helps farmers plant wheat without having to clear the paddy straw left over from the rice harvest. But the take-up rate has been unimpressive.
Farming as a profession is a very old one. There are entrenched practices, and if they're not comfortable with the new method of farming, whether it's the Happy Cedar or any other method of managing, they're going to resist. And because they don't have the confidence that it'll actually deliver the same yield in the next season, because their income in the next season depends on that, right? And that's the fundamental barrier.
Resistance to change is just one problem. Happiness doesn't come cheap. Each Happy Cedar costs about 150,000 rupees or $2,000. That's what the average farmer in Punjab earns in a whole year. The state government is providing subsidies to make them more affordable. But
So I believe in the last video, because that was like 2 days ago. Oh, dang, I dropped it. I believe in the last video, I mentioned like if the government was going to do any subsidies for any type of techniques that would be more beneficial, because for the average Happy Cedar machine to cost what they make in a year is ridiculous. And then they also don't want to go into debt for the machine, along with potentially not yielding as much profit the next year from the machine. So I mean, it kind of makes sense that they would resist somewhat. I think what could make this more beneficial, like a problem solution, would be for the government to purchase a decent amount of land, to use the happy feeder machine, and then show the farmers that they can still yield. So they, first off, they would have to yield 1 year without the happy feeder machine. Then the next year, they would have to be able to yield the same amount from that machine. Now, the thing that's interesting when you think about something like that is like the probability of like what could potentially happen. So let's just say that it's a dry season. So the experiment would either have to be delayed, or it would be negative, have a negative outlook to the farmers. So let's just say that there's not as much rain. I don't really know that much about farming, but let's just say there's not as much rain. So the crops that they're normally able to yield, wouldn't be able to yield the same amount of crops they did as the previous year when there was a decent amount of rain. So anyways, I kind of going super far out, but I'm glad that the government is at least trying to do some type of subsidies for the farmers. I think they probably need to do a little bit better. Now, it really kind of comes down to, is the government willing to heavily subsidize for the benefit of the people in New Delhi? And would the city of New Delhi also be willing to subsidize? I don't even know what like their GDP is, or if they're even profitable. I know most cities are dang near bankrupt, but I'm curious to see what the solution was. But I am glad they have some type of solution, because in the previous video I did, it didn't seem like they had like a spot on solution. So let's see what else they have to say.
It seems that's not enough.
हमारे गांव में 800 एकड़ ज़मीन है। हमारे गांव में 2 हैप्पी सीडर हैं। ये यानी एक बंदे को बीजने के लिए 30 तो 40 दिन वेट करनी पड़ेगी, जबकि हमारे पास राइस और बीट्स क्रॉप करने के लिए सिर्फ 15 और 20 दिन होते हैं। जो वीकली लेट हो जाते हैं, तब पर वीक 2 क्विंटल जड़ी है उसकी प्रोडक्शन कम होती जाती है।
कल हमने यहाँ पे आग लगाया, आज हम 1 घंटे में इसको गेहूँ को बीज देंगे। जो महंगे इम्प्लीमेंट है उसको तो टाइम बहुत ज़्यादा लगता है, खर्चा बहुत ज़्यादा आता है।
The government of Punjab is trying another tactic. The authorities will now pay farmers not to burn their crop stubble and compel them to use more happy seeders. But according to the head of the Farmers Union in Rupar, Punjab, the government has been slow in making payments. Citizen journalist Tamsil Hussain is reporting on crop burning in Punjab for his website, Let Me Breathe. He's discovering for himself the scale of the problem faced by the farmers.
पराली जब किसान दोबारा जलाई जाती, सबसे पहले धुआं जो लगता है किसान की आँख को लगता है, उसके किसान के बच्चे में, किसान के गांव में लगता है, तब कहीं जाकर ऊपर आसमान से धुआं उड़ता है। हमारा मन नहीं करता कि असी पराली को जलाएं, अगर सरकार सही रूप च कंपनसेशन दे दे। दिल्ली दे विच अमीर बंदे रहते हैं देश भर दे, एक घर में 4 गाड़ी रखी हुई है, एक बंदा उनमें बैठ कर जाता है, कितना पोल्यूशन होता है वो। इस करके जो हमको दोषी बनाया जा रहा है, अभी पोल्यूशन के दोषी नहीं होंगे।
Yeah, that's a valid point.
After speaking to the farmers and the farmer union,
I believe in the last video I mentioned that, you know, what is the overall percentage of the stubble burning in the outskirts of New Delhi? Like what's the percentage of that? What percentage of the stubble burn is causing pollution in New Delhi? So, because I know that there's plenty of cars out there, I know that it can't just solely be the stubble burn. I know the stubble burn isn't helping the cause at all, but as you mentioned, it's affecting their own families and towns before it's affecting New Delhi as well. So I don't know. Hopefully later on in the video they'll kind of go into more detail, and then I think this is a topic that we should look into more, because I think this documentary was probably made in like 2019, maybe 2020. Had to be 2019 because I adopted this in 2020.
Leader, one thing is clear, that the farmers in Punjab are not going to stop burning stubble. Even after the Supreme Court orders, even after the state governments have been threatening them with fines and penalties, and they actually have legit reasons. What we need to do in Delhi is get our house in order and fight air pollution from within city limits.
During the crop burning phase, it becomes a visible problem. And in addition, you'll have politicians in Delhi and policymakers here saying, oh, it's a problem coming from outside. So that message is kind of, accentuated. As a result, everybody feels that, oh, it's really a problem from the outside.
Some people don't want to stay and find out if things will change come next winter. Many Delhi residents are skeptical that the government can prevent another lethal crisis, and are making a radical decision to protect their families. Vaibhav Madhan is uprooting his family from the capital to migrate to the southern city of Hyderabad.
I always felt the dust, I always felt the smog around. Even while I was driving to office, I myself was wearing a mask. And that's where this question came into my mind. Is it the life I want to give my kid? And which is where it was a joint decision for me and my wife that, okay, no, we want to look for opportunities outside of Delhi. And so the policy was a key factor which drove the decision why I want to move out.
It was a tough decision to make.
This is so saddening that I have to, for my child, I have to ask for clean air, or in search of clean air, I have to make drastic decisions. But we have reached to a point when clean air is probably more critical than right to speech or right to education. Now, right to clean air, it's just saddening.
The Vardhans may not be alone in their drastic move.
You baby.
According to a recent survey of over 11,000 citizens, 4 in 10 want to move out of the capital because of the toxic air.
Yeah, 40%.
But others are choosing to stay and fight for Delhi's residents' right to breathe clean air.
I don't think the Supreme Court order is going to stop the palm fires. The farmers feel scapegoated. They feel we are the reason why we breathe bad air in Delhi. Are they right?
So who or what is the biggest culprit? For his next online report, Tamsil is meeting Dr. Sumit Sharma, who's been studying the particles brought in by air pollution to track down the perpetrators.
The types of particles deposited on this filter paper will determine what are the types of sources contributing to air pollution problem at this place. So after taking out these filters from the monitors, we send these filter papers to our laboratories where we analyze them for their chemical characteristics. And that will determine what is the contribution of different sources towards prevailing pollution. Agricultural burning happens for just 20 to 30 days. If you take that out of equation, you're still left with the whole season of winters, which is very highly polluted. And the main contributor there is transport as a local source. Transport was contributing to almost 28% of PM 2.5.
According to a 2018
as a local, very agricultural burning.
Oh, damn. Hang on.
Of different sources towards prevailing pollution.
Industrial 19%. Oh, here we go. Okay, so at least this is during the winter. So I remember I mentioned industries in the last episode. I kind of mixed industries and power together. I'm curious what the other is in biomass. But dust, I would consider the dust to be part of the stubble burn. But transport being 28% and industry being 24% is significant. And I had a feeling industry had something to do with it as well. Just all the smog that comes from industries, I can't say industries, but let's just say factories, power plants, all that type of jazz.
Agricultural burning happens for just 20 to 30 days. If you take that out of equation, you're still left with the whole season of winters, which is very highly polluted, and the main contributor there is transport as a local source. Transport was contributing to almost 28% of PM 2.5.
According to a 2018 study by Delhi-based think tank Centre for Science and Environment, Delhi is blighted by the worst vehicle emissions in India. Today, there are about 11 million vehicles registered in Delhi. Daily, 1,400 are added to the total, most of them private cars. For his report, Tamsil is meeting with Jasmine Shah, an advisor to the state government. He wants to know what the state plans to do to tackle the problem.
We have a plan to nearly double the entire bus fleet in the course of next couple of years. It's been in the works for the last 3 years. We're also rationalizing routes scientifically using data as to where do people live and where do they want to travel. We're also working on ensuring affordability of bus and public transport, and Delhi is the first city in the world that has made its entire bus system free for travel of women. We're also planning to make it free for students. So the sum total of all this, what will ensure is that more and more people shift from private vehicles to public transport. And that's when we'll really start seeing the overall emissions from the transport sector reducing.
During the winter crisis period, the Delhi government has a weapon to tackle vehicular emission: the odd-even policy. This is how it works. When air quality dips into the hazardous range on the Air Quality Index, the city rations the number of cars on the road. Odd numbers on one day, even numbers the next, and so on. It was first introduced in 2016 as an emergency measure. It was implemented again in November 2019 when the city declared a public health emergency. And
Man, the smog, I mean, like, this looks like fog, but you know it's smog, and it probably sounds like the exact same thing. I don't know, maybe, like, I don't think fog has anything to do with smog at all. But when you just look at it, it's like you can barely see. Like, if I was driving this, I'd have my high beams on. Like, this is crazy how thick the smog is.
according to official figures, it cut the number of cars on the road.
Like, it looks like it's raining. Is it raining? It's hard to tell if it's raining or if it's smog.
By 1.2 million every day. But some experts are skeptical.
At one level, you're not including the two-wheelers, which are huge in numbers, right? You are giving exemption to women. And also the timing of it. It's only from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Whereas if you compare it with the voting scheme, that is much more stringent.
The odd-even scheme is an emergency measure. On a daily basis, the Delhi government has another arrow in its quiver to reduce emissions: the Pollution Under Control Certificate. Drivers must have one of these certificates proving that their vehicle complies with emission standards.
I'm gonna be honest with you. If you got an old car, like a really old car, and you have to get the emissions done, there are certain emissions places in America. I'm not certain about Canada, but I know in America there are certain places you can go to and they will, like, they'll look out for you. You know what I'm saying? If you have an old, like, I remember, I think I was like 19 or 20, and I had a really old car, and I knew it wouldn't pass emissions, and I had to get the emissions done before I could fix the car. So then one of my buddies told me about emissions test place that'll, like, you know, it sounds illegal still. I don't think I get in trouble for it because it's been over a decade. But regardless, they passed the emissions test for me, and I was able to keep the car on the road until I was able to get it fixed. And if you know about those old foreign cars, how hard it is to get them fixed in America, it's not like it's a Honda or a see what's another major car out here in America, or a Mercedes, where there's like a lot of people that can fix them. It's like if you have a foreign car in America, it is so hard to get them fixed and it takes so long. Anyways, I'm pretty sure that happens in India as well. Like, there are certain emission test places you could go to that'll fix your car or let you pass the test illegally.
The idea is to keep older, dirtier cars off the streets. But does it work? In November 2019, the grey smog...
Oh yeah, I will say I believe in following the law. I don't think that you should do anything that go against the law or potentially put you in jail. But if it's your only car, you have to get the emissions test done. If you don't have another car, and you can't find anybody to fix it between, like I know for me, I had to do it on my birthday. Or like maybe a week or two before my birthday. So if you can't get anybody to fix it in time, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Blanketing Delhi captured the world's attention. But Delhi's air is dirty year-round. Its air pollution levels are on average double what is deemed safe to breathe.
That's crazy.
And one of the big causes of the city's toxic air? Emissions from the millions of vehicles that ply its roads. The Delhi state government tries to control the level of these emissions with this: a test to determine that vehicles meet emission standards. Pass the test and you get a pollution under control or PUC certificate. Drive around without one and you could pay a fine of up to 10,000 rupees or $140. But how effective is this measure? To answer that question, Tamsil is renting an old car registered in Delhi. He wants to see how watertight the emission testing regime is.
What really is the process of getting a pollution check
So
done?
once the car comes in for a pollution check, we need the registration of the vehicle
of the car.
and the person's contact number. We key in all that and then we connect the silencer of the car to the machine, which checks the pollution levels.
Which is inside.
So petrol and diesel cars, they have different scales on which it is measured.
So what happens if my car is rejected? What happens if
it is rejected, we send you back. You have to get your car repaired or checked for the...
Like from the service station?
Yeah, from the service center, and then after 4 hours, you can get it checked again. And if it is rectified, if it is a pass, then you get a pass.
So in Delhi, I know that it's difficult to get my failed certificate passed.
It is not only difficult, it is next to impossible. Because Delhi, the rules are very strict and all of us follow them.
Tamsil decides to test the validity of that claim.
So I'm just about to send a picture of a number plate instead of a real car to the pollution check unit, and they will check if my car is polluted or not by just this image. Right now, as you can see, like the driver is standing at the pollution check unit who has received the image of the number plate that I've sent him on his mobile phone via WhatsApp, and he will be showing it to the pollution check unit and checking if he can actually get a pollution check done without actually driving the car there.
Wow. I told you.
यार ये पॉल्यूशन खत्म हो गया, ये बनाना है यार। बन जाएगा। बना दो यार। गाड़ी किधर है? गाड़ी नहीं लाया यार, वो फोटो भेज दिया था तो बोल लगे बनवा ले इसको। नंबर प्लेट का है फोटो? हाँ, पॉल्यूशन है पुराना वाला। तो इससे थोड़ी होगा, ये वाला नंबर डालने पड़ता है ना, तो इसलिए नंबर प्लेट है ना, उसका फोटो मंगवा दीजिए। नंबर प्लेट का फोटो? ठीक है भाई।
The driver has given the image of the car number plate to the PUC guy, and he's actually making, according to him, an original pollution check certificate just on the basis of that number plate. Like, he has got a sheet of paper in his hand, and oh my god, I think he's got the pollution check done. I can't wait to hear what has happened.
This car actually failed to attain the pollution under control certification at the last center.
सर पॉल्यूशन बन गया दोबारा से।
क्या pollution बन गया?
वो पुराना वाला देख के बना दिया। गाड़ी का प्लेट मंगाया था, फोटो उसने गाड़ी का प्लेट का, और उसको पुराने वाले पॉल्यूशन 2018 का पॉल्यूशन को देख के बना दिया।
The last pollution check done on the image that I had sent to him on the phone was 2018, and it's 21st 1st 2020, and I passed my pollution check.
Wow. So I mentioned that this was probably filmed in 2019, but it was right before COVID really became an issue. January 21st, 2020. Yeah, like I was saying, I don't know why, but I don't know if that lady. I'm not trying to get sued or anything. I don't even know if she could sue me, but I don't know. I was wondering if that the lady who you just saw, who was explaining the how to get the certificate. I was curious if it was her building, but it looks like they just have similar colors to the one they just went to that gave them the faulty or like the false pass. But anyways, like I said earlier, I mean, you can find places who are willing to work with you if you know your car isn't going to meet standards. So I mean, it just is what it is. That's the way of the world, you know. I don't make the rules. So, there's always a way to finagle stuff to work in your benefit. So it doesn't surprise me that this was able to happen in India as well.
They didn't put anything inside the vehicle, just on the basis of a picture. We've got a pollution check done, and it is an official government stamp.
So Tamsil was able to get a car that failed its emissions test at one facility, an authentic pollution under control certificate at another, by simply using a photo of its license plate and an expired PUC certificate.
I got a chance to get a pollution certificate, right, for which I did not really show up in my car. I literally took a picture and gave it to the person, paid him the same amount, and got a pollution check done, which is completely legit.
I'm not at all surprised because we have done the audit and assessment of the PUC system a few years ago, and that was done under the direction of the Supreme Court. And we carried out this assessment, and that's a time when we realized that what kind of fraud and corruption, this system is beset with. There were centers with fake softwares, and they could just generate a perfect certificate for you if you just give them the registration number of your car. Delhi has about more than 900, close to 1,000 PUC centers in this city, but the Transport Department has just a handful of inspectors, so 7 to 8, to look after them, to ensure that whether their machines are calibrated, whether they have got authentic certificate, whether they are doing their proper tests.
As a consequence of this failure to enforce certification, these schemes have so far had little impact on vehicle emissions in Delhi. But the government has an even more ambitious scheme to curb the impact of the motor car: to go electric. In 2019, the authorities passed the EV, or electric vehicle policy, to subsidize electric vehicles in the city.
We are very confident that Delhi, within maybe 2 to 3 years, it will emerge as one of the top most electric vehicle cities in the world. Our overall plan is to ensure that...
Okay, so this is just my opinion when it comes to people putting price targets, like if you're investing, or like targets in general. They never work. You know, I won't say they never work, but the probability of them working within your timeline or your time horizon is very low. This has been 2 to 3 years old since this documentary was released or made, however you want to view it. But I don't know what cities are the top EV users, or I would suspect it would probably be in Europe or in Canada or the US, just because EVs are made mostly in these places. And there are strict pollution laws, like a lot stricter pollution laws. I don't know. I'm curious to see after this. You could look it up, but or I'll probably put it in the description for 2025 or 2024, 2025 to show what are the top 10 EV used cities, or cities that use EVs.
That in 5 years' time, which is by 2025, 1 out of every new vehicle sold in Delhi is an electric vehicle.
I'm not interested in your give me time-bound problem.
But there's an ever more intractable problem. These schemes, including electrification, will only impact vehicles registered inside the city. And a large percentage of air pollution spews out of these. trucks and buses running on diesel fuel that pour into the city from outside its borders and beyond the reach of its laws and regulations. Bure Lal is the Supreme Court's man on the ground when it comes to anti-pollution action.
That bus stop is functioning properly.
He's the chairman of the Environmental Pollution Control Authority, an independent body mandated by the Supreme Court to combat pollution in the capital city. One of his many jobs? Enforce emergency measures on the ground when air pollution in Delhi becomes severely bad. Coordinating with multiple enforcing agencies who play a role in the battle against bad air is challenging enough. But his biggest enemy? Officials who don't share his passion.
Implementation is the watchword, and it is a difficult thing. Indifference at times on the part of enforcing agencies, even they are not convinced what they should do and what they are doing. Giving order is one thing, ensuring that it is implemented is altogether different.
In trying to get to the root of Delhi's dirty air, a theme emerges. A lack of enforcement and implementation of existing laws and policies. Many activists like Tamsil pin their hopes on the Supreme Court order. It orders Delhi and neighboring states to come up with a plan to clean up Delhi's air.
This year, the court was justifiably really angry at the fact that in spite of all its efforts, in spite of all the attention and the time that has been given, in November, the air was so foul, that all of us really almost felt, what are we doing? And I think the court reflected that sense of frustration, anger, and of course determination that we need to clean this up, that this is not acceptable, that the people of Delhi deserve better.
Today is the day of reckoning for the state authorities. The day when the chief secretaries, as the highest-ranking civil servants of Delhi, Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh, present their plans of action to the court. And Tamsil Hussein's here to find out just how they're going to clean up Delhi's air. But it's a no-show. The chief secretaries of Delhi, Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh are nowhere to be seen.
I think November might be another crisis. We don't know. There's so many factors that cause Delhi's air pollution that you actually might not have control over, right? It could be other states, it could be weather conditions, it could be people's behavior. We don't know. I'm going to keep uploading pollution and climate change stories. I'm going to keep helping people upload their stories using their mobile phone because media might move on. Politicians might keep throwing blame games at each other. Trending topics are never going to end. Sensational news will continue happening. But you know what doesn't change is citizen voice. Citizen voices asking for positive change has long-lasting impact.
The clock is ticking down to winter 2020. While the Delhi government gears up to deal with possibly another toxic winter, Punjab farmers brace up to fight for burning their stubble if financial help doesn't come their way. Will Delhi residents then have to pay the price once again? That is, if they choose to stay at all.
That was an interesting documentary about the air pollution going on in New Delhi. I'm curious to see. Oh, actually, I'll bring it up if I find it. We'll just do 2024 top cities. Let's make that horribly. Okay, so let's see. Bring it back. So Los Angeles, as of December 2024, is one of the top. San Francisco, New York, Amsterdam, Oslo. Where is Oslo? I've heard that name before, but I don't know where it is. Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen, London, Paris. I was pretty much right. Like, I'm surprised with no, see, I'm thinking about Hong Kong. I think Hong Kong has a lot of air pollution. Let's see, where is Oslo? Oh, Oslo's in Norway. That makes sense. It's Europe. Yeah, so let's actually see what the 2024 Delhi pollution. All right. Dang, that's crazy. It's still a crazy issue. Not surprising. I mean, at the end of the documentary, when the I don't know, they were like the leaders of each of those provinces or territories around New Delhi didn't meet up, and they were a no-show. I mean, it didn't surprise me that this is still an issue. But I guess somewhat surprised me, but you hope for the best, but you plan for the worst. So has witnessed 155 days of poor air. Damn. Yeah, so this is still an issue over 5 years later, which is not too surprising, but it is what it is. It's a good thing that one guy got his family out of there, because his child would be about 4 or 5 now, and his lungs would be affected with the air quality from New Delhi. But anyways, cool little video. I'm going to do some more research on what's going on in New Delhi with the air pollution. Hope you enjoyed the little series or the little documentary of the 2-part video. But peace.